Once upon a time, two boys grew up playing hockey in the village of Terrace, British Columbia. One of them went on to play in the National Hockey League. The other became a comedian. Now, one flies planes and coaches youth hockey. The other is still a comedian and owns newsstands. This is their podcast, Enjoying Orange Slices with Jeff and Ian.
Hi, Jeff. How are you?
Hello, Lord Bagg, but we're going to call you Mr. Terrace today because you're back in the home and native land of, is it
I'm
Strom
back.
Avenue? I think Strom Avenue or one of them.
Just give away the address. Just
Yeah.
get everything stolen from the house. I found a video online. There's some dude rolling around Terrace in a Batman outfit. He calls himself Terrace Batman.
Tough to
And
top that. Tough to
and
top
yeah,
that.
I'll have to find it. We'll put it up here. But he's strolling around fighting crime, talking to the people of Terrace, BC late at night. They are some interesting people.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How is it up there? You look a little chilly today.
Well, it's let's see, what would it be? It's raining. It's not freezing. It's low overcast, and can see some plants moving outside, so therefore it's got a little bit of wind going through here, through
Wow,
the
that's
valley.
good.
Yeah.
So you're up there visiting Gary.
I'm up here after my 16-hour ride from Edmonton. I could have drove here in the same time. Right? Isn't it's like only about 12 hours to drive from Edmonton to Terrace?
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people, well, actually, a lot of people this year in the East Coast they're very familiar with weather snarling things up. But when you go up to northern British Columbia this time of year, or you're in northern Alberta, you have to factor in some
Well,
some weather.
I wanted to ask you about
Possibly.
this. I wanted to
Yeah,
ask you about this.
I'm gonna go here first. Yeah,
This is
I'm back.
this is a guy that flies. So we had a 5:45 flight time. And we got out there and we had to get rinse of the de-ice. And we were number 4 in the de-ice, so that slowed us down a little bit. But then we got out to the runway, and he said, we got some weather coming in, some ice is on the runway. They're trying to clear the runway, and there's some ice on it. Well, he came back a little bit further, and he said, "You guys might have noticed that planes have been taking off the whole time we've been sitting waiting for them to de-ice the runway." Um, it's not de-iced enough for us. This plane can't take off on that ice, on how much ice is on the runway. Do you know
Hmm.
anything about this? Have you ever heard that before?
Yeah, I mean, if the runway is contaminated, then yeah, I mean,
But
it
all the other
depends.
planes were taken off. We're the only
Well,
ones.
I don't know. I mean, I wasn't there, so I don't. I'm not. One
But
thing
have
that,
you heard that before? Like, is there
yeah, I
certain
mean,
planes that
yeah.
can't take off in certain
Well, yeah, I mean, depending on what's going on, depending on there's a bunch of factors that could be involved, and that's why that aircraft couldn't get the performance to take off.
Okay.
Okay, and just remember something: if you go down rolling down a runway and it's got ice on it, and you have to reject the takeoff because of some reason,
You slide
you
off the
don't
end.
want to be, yeah, you don't want to turn into a sled at that point. So I would say that probably a number of reasons, but one of them being number one was safety. They didn't take the
Well,
runway.
as I'm a little bitch about it, I do want to bring up that I'm never gonna, and you always err on the side of caution, right? No matter what. You have to err on the side when it comes to that kind of thing. But at the same time, I was just like, what? So
Well,
we were about 2.5 hours late taking off out of Edmonton. So as we were landing, my plane for Terrace was taking off.
You you guys had to wait for the plane from Terrace to push off the gate so you
Yeah,
guys could get one.
yeah, exactly what was going on. I was just like, "Oh, are you
That's
kidding?"
yeah, that's
So,
normally how it goes. Yeah.
but
So
it was early in the morning, so I fell right asleep. And when I woke up, the two people beside me, the lady was looking at me, and she goes, "My husband knows who you are." And I go, did we go to school together? And she goes, no, he's seen you open up for Bert in Saskatoon at the SaskTel Center. And I was just like, and he's like, he
Fast
leans over, he
tells.
goes, I have whatever. He leans over, he goes, hi, I had a really good time. It was really a lot of fun. But I go, where you guys going? Mexico. She's like, I go, where you guys from? Saskatchewan. They're from Saskatchewan, Lloydminster or something like that. And the best part it was, but she was from Newfoundland. Oh my God, her accent was awesome. Oh, it was
That's,
so. And for people that don't know, think of a hot girl with the voice of a truck driver.
yeah. Did she have a drink in her drink in her hand, ready to go? Because it was probably like 2 o'clock in the afternoon out in Newfoundland already. But
She was,
even I know they started in Saskatchewan, but
but she's very bossy, right? Like just making sure everything's organized. We're in 19-2, the C and D. We got to make sure that we get John back there. He's down in 33. We all got to make the plane in time. And he's like, we're not going to make the plane times. Well, we're going to be stuck in the Vancouver airport for just like I'm just watching this go, oh, this is awesome. So we didn't go to school together. He seen me at a show.
well, how was Edmonton other than that? Did you have a good
Other
time up there?
other than sold out 5 for 5.
Oh yeah, bragging. I like it.
You want me to go in for a humble
It-
brag?
Yeah, just keep going. Yeah.
So my 9 out of my last 9 shows have been sold out.
You didn't even have to bring Honor in to
Shut
like
up. Shut up.
bring the story up. Hey, I thought you might have
Yeah.
detoured
Yeah.
over to Honor or something to kind of bring the story up, but you didn't. You didn't even
No.
tell everyone you were rolling with the big wigs at the what's that Rexall place in Edmonton? Is that
Rexall
what it is?
Place.
Rexall, yeah.
Have you been to that arena?
No, I heard great things about the area, but
We
nothing.
sat in an area called the Loge, and there's 3 levels of the Loge area, which is I have no idea what, but it was basically we had a suite. Like it was at the top of this area that goes kind of onto a private concourse. So we just had this huge area, like a bathroom behind us. It was just, and we had a server. So it was insane. That it was we were there with a construction company, and it was silly. I'm just like, oh, it may be the best place I've ever watched the game. And people are like, you were really high up. I'm like, probably the like third level of suites is what we were on, right? Which isn't that high up, and I like that. I like being able to see like I didn't enjoy being down, but I enjoy being able to see the whole ice and be able to see how it take place. But
Mm.
my God, that team, my God, that team.
Yeah, well, they're well, you know what? I look at Edmonton, and you hear people talk about it, but they're just anywhere in the playoffs is fine, but just kind of get there and then
That's how they play the game, though.
go from there, right? Like
They play the game. They show it. We'll just show up for the first. We'll have a good time. See how they can score on our goalie, and then the second, we'll just make sure we check out, see what's going on, and then in the third, McDavid loses his shit about 17:45 and starts yelling at people. Drysidle starts coming into a North American time zone and realize it's time to play hockey. And it was insane. It was insane that what they did in the last, I think it was 10 minutes. That's what they did it in. But
yeah, it's really interesting to watch the Pacific Division uh, on the whole, minus one team that we won't bring up. But did you watch the outdoor game by any chance?
I didn't even know what was going on until all of a sudden there was a goalie fight on my phone.
I have to say, for as far as entertainment, like if you were a Boston fan, the first period was really entertaining. And
Right.
then if you're a Tampa Bay fan, the second period was and then the third period it kind of settled down a bit, but it was still a lot of fun. I will say this about Boston, the big bad bees, they're back. If they can find a way to just add a teaspoon of discipline into that game of theirs.
Well,
They're really hard to play against. They work hard, but just a little bit over the edge.
here's my thing about do they have the same thing as San Jose? Just a little bit, just need a little bit more maturity.
Well,
Like
they they have more veterans in Boston than San Jose, right? They're kind of
But the
living on
guys
a
that are doing
prayer,
it,
like, I
some,
mean, John Bon Jovi, they got all these young guys and they're just ripping it, right? And having a good time and they're figuring
yeah.
it out as they go. Whereas Boston's a little bit more, they got some really good young guys. Boston's really impressed me this year. The only thing to borrow Pasternak's, just making a few mistakes, he says. So a few less mistakes, and Boston could be a real pain to play against.
How do you
I
tighten
think
that
get
up?
in. Well, you know what? I mean, you have to look at some of the because points, especially well in both conferences, but especially in the East, are so hard to come. Like it's so tight. Like that point that they ended up, they were up 5-1 on Tampa, and I know in the NHL now teams come back from 2, 3 goal, well now 4 goal deficits. But when you're trying to get like after the year they had last year, and you're trying to get back in the playoffs and try and get back in the mix, I think it's just something that like the guys in the room. I know Marco's done a great job there, but the guys in the room are after a while. They're like, guys, we need to kind of like they brought some guys in for toughness, so you have to live with some of that. But I think if you watch Boston on a nightly basis, you know they're going to take a couple extra minor penalties, and if you can burn them like Tampa Bay did on the power play, um, it's gonna take away all that hard work and good stuff they're doing. So they can, I think it's gonna come internally, each guy in the room and just be like, hey guys, we need to just take, you know what, they're already big and tough. They're hard to play against. Just a little bit, come off the throttle just a bit, not much, just a
Hmm.
bit, and they'll be. I've been impressed with them. I like what they're doing. But the other night in that game is kind of a microcosm, I think, of their season is like a lot of really good stuff. And then as Pasta said, a couple of mistakes, right? So
Couple of
let's just
mistakes, it really,
eliminate,
it really gets you.
let's eliminate those mistakes because when they come back, everybody's going to play like 25 games in 50 days, right? So they're going to play
And
every other
when
night.
Jeff says, if you don't know, the Olympics are starting next week. The games all end on Friday, right? Is that the last games all Friday?
Yeah, either Thursday or Friday, and then they all go over. And of course, in big news today, unfortunately, for Team Canada, Anthony Cirelli got injured. So Sam Bennett, who was the hot button
Is
player
it? I
that
was going to say, is it really a bad news for Team Canada?
yeah, well, bad
Is
news for
it?
Anthony Cirelli, and
Yeah,
I mean, come on,
yeah,
like so close, right? And there's going
yeah.
to be some guys get injured before they go, and it's just sucks. But anyways, Sam Bennett's back, and so I think he'll be in there, and I think everybody that watched the Four Nations would say that Sam Bennett was very deserving of we're not that far removed from it. It's not 2 or 3 years. It's only half a season basically. So good for him. And I
I'm
think
curious, as we do this on Tuesday, we're doing it on Tuesday, so this will come out Wednesday. I'm curious to see if there's any trades before the trade lock happens before the Olympics too. I'm looking forward to seeing that and see if we got any moves. But then, and then everything, we just forget about everything and we just start thinking about on country crime. It's gonna be fantastic.
yeah, I mean
That's
hopefully
what
it
they should
lives
do.
up to it.
That's what they should do. They should do the Olympics and just put whoever wins the Olympics gets Greenland.
Hey, you know what? I think might just come in and wreck everyone's day is the Swedes. Like everyone's
You
like
know, I was on a radio show the other day, and I said, watch the Swedes. I think everybody talks Canada and America. I think be careful. Yeah, be
yeah,
careful what you. Yeah,
yeah, and
suddenly
it's
Finland owns Greenland.
yeah, they're sharing it with the Swedes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you there's going to be somebody come out that you weren't expecting, but the Swedes they look
You know
out
what
for
my
them.
reason, and before I bring our guest in today, we'll bring our guest in, Jamie Hersch from she's working with the Golden Knights this year, right, Jeff? She's working with you in the Golden Knights, so you probably recognize her from the NHL Network. And if you're a baseball fan, you probably recognize her from MLB, but she's going to drop by and tell us about her career and what she feels about hockey. And we're going to also see how she travels, what airline is her choice of travel.
Yeah, no, there's a couple out there that she can choose from, and she also does play-by-play for the Professional Women's Hockey League. Jamie is very unique in the fact that she does just about everything there is to do with TV, whether it's host, a rink-side reporter, play-by-play. And so let's see what Jamie has to say. We'll get moving and bring her in.
All right, let's go to it. I completely forgot what we were going to talk about before. We're going to Jamie Hersch, everybody. Our guest today is originally from a very cold climate, so she knows mittens as well as we do. Please welcome Jamie Hersch. Hi, Jamie.
Hello. Hi. Thanks for having me.
You grew up in Minnesota, right? You were a Minnesota kid throwing snowballs. Did you love
Throwing
hockey from the
snowballs.
beginning?
It's funny. It's a little known fact that I did not grow up in a hockey family. My dad, I
Oh.
love my dad, huge daddy's girl, but he did not like the fighting or the long hair, which is hilarious now. And so I don't tell a lot of people that because it never really, is in my best interest to make it sound like hockey was new to me later in life. But that is the truth. And I'm telling you here for the world to hear that yeah, I was a figure skater and I had friends who played hockey and I grew up, obviously it's all
Uh,
around in Minnesota, but I did not actually play hockey, nor did I watch hockey because when I was born, the North Stars left like I think I was 4 when they left. So
uh-huh.
I didn't really watch hockey then until way later. The Wild didn't come till I was in high school. So I didn't have an NHL team to really cheer for anyway. So I was big into football, basketball, baseball. Those were my family's sports. And so when I got not an offer off the bat, but definitely was notified that there was a job in hockey working for the Wild, I thought, okay, I can learn hockey. And
That's funny.
I did. And then now, looking back, it's just hilarious. My dad loves hockey now and watches it all the
Oh,
time.
that's great.
Yeah, but the fact that, his daughter calls play by play for hockey is something that it would never have come in his wildest dreams.
Hey,
That's great.
Jamie, you bring up a great point and something that it makes you very unique in the sports world, the hockey world is you play by play, host, analyst, ringside reporter. And so I'm not going to ask you to rank them all, but I might. Like, what do you find is the most, I guess, the most preparation or most difficult to kind of do? And is there one of those four that you enjoy the most or you're most comfortable with? Because that's pretty unique. Like you call for the Professional Women's Hockey League, and of course we know what you did at the NHL Network, but you also do wear a lot of different hats with the Golden Knights. So, which kind of those? I'll give you a few paths to go down. You can talk about any one of them.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say I'm a jack of all trades, master of none, really, is where I'm at. But no, I try to dabble in a little of everything. I've always felt like being versatile was a really great quality to have in this industry, because you never know with times changing and things shifting, you want to be able to jump in and help out wherever you can. But I would say to answer your question about which takes the most prep and is the hardest, it's 100% play by play. I've been fortunate enough to call NHL games for the NHL Network and PWHL games now for the Professional Women's Hockey League. And it takes just hours upon hours of deep diving into, I try to have at least 1 or 2 nuggets on every single player, because you never know who's going to score, right? And if it's a fourth line guy that you just didn't take time to research where he was drafted, where he went to college, or where he played his juniors or anything, like, and he scores a big goal, or you don't even know if it was his first NHL goal, if you didn't do your proper research. So I really try to put the work in ahead of time so that when the game starts, you call the action and then you react based on what happens. But that is, I always say it's the hardest thing I've ever done professionally, but the most exhilarating and the most rewarding because I mean, it flies. I never played, obviously, but like I can imagine that is about as close as I would ever get to playing a hockey game because I'm laser focused on everything going on, not only with the puck, but certainly on the bench or, if there's something happening on the other end of the ice. And I've never focused so hard for such a long stretch of time that when intermission comes, you're like, whoa, what just happened? Where did the last 30 minutes go? So it's exhilarating. I feel like I'm finally getting better. Where at the beginning I was like so stressed all the time, wouldn't sleep the night before, fetal position, like before I had to actually go into work because I was like, I can't do this. I can't do it. But I did it and now I'm a little more comfortable and it's really rewarding.
Did you have any mentors that helped you through getting to when you were doing call by play by play? Were you like who'd you have around you that helped you out? Because we all know it takes a little bit of a village to get somebody through things. So
It
who'd you have helping?
It definitely does take a village. So when I started, it was the NHL network that gave me the opportunity originally. We have these like showcase games, which we actually called off a monitor. So I would argue it's even harder because you're in the studio.
I was just gonna
Yeah.
say, you started on a monitor.
Mhm.
Your eyesight must be fantastic.
Eyesight and memory, because you got to, I mean, the numbers and
Yeah,
like when you're in person, you can rely a little more on, like if a guy has the flow going or something, or you learn how, like, and now I know watching the
with your
Golden
dad
Knights.
yelling in the background, "Cut that hair! Cut that hair!"
I know how ridiculous, right? And what's so funny, my dad's a musician, so
Oh
he had
no!
long hair too. But I think it was just, I don't even, it was mostly the fighting. I think I should confirm because I've told the story enough. I should confirm with him that what his actual issue was.
That's
But
funny.
anyway, mentor wise, so EJ Raddick is relatively new to play by play as well. He kind of started it when NHL Network was trying these new showcase games off a monitor as well, and so he was a really great resource for me because he had been, an analyst and a host, and then trying to do play by play. And it's the best thing he told me, and you guys will love this, Jeff especially, is he said, "You're like a pilot. You're flying the plane. There's going to be turbulence. There's going to be rough patches. Then there's going to be really smooth patches where you're like, I got this. And then something's going to happen and you're going to freak out. Don't worry. Your job is to just keep flying the plane. If you need to pause, if you need to take a breath, you called the wrong name, whatever it is, you need to collect yourself, do that, but then get back in and keep flying the plane."
Yeah, I do. That's such a great thing for him to say. Is just if there's a mistake, you just acknowledge and keep going.
Yeah.
I think people that watch the games love for you to be human at times. Like that's the other connection, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't want just a robot calling it. We want to become buddies with the person that's calling the game. So
Yeah, and I also think someone told me really a long time ago, not even with play by play, but just in general with working in television, it is a bit of an art, right? Like there are people who
absolutely.
are going to think I'm terrible at what I do. There are people that are going to think I'm great at what I do, and there's going to be a lot more people somewhere in between.
And
And
they both live in your house.
and exactly. And so it's going to be, like take feedback, but be careful whose feedback you take, kind of thing. And we all know about Twitter and all that. That's a whole other side of this business. But I think,
We
yeah, I think my whole thing I've tried to do is just find my voice, right? Everyone has a different style. Doc Emmerich was very, I mean, the best, right, ever. But he was like, called every little thing, everything the puck did every time. And he had just the best vocabulary and
Mhm.
incredible knowledge of the game as well. But I would argue that, he called it a bit more as a radio broadcaster would, where he said every single thing. Whereas a lot of people I've talked to in kind of the more modern day of calling play by play, it's a visual medium. So you don't really have to feel like you have to say every single thing or so and so coming down the left side. Like we can see that he's coming down the left side. So sure, you can mix it in, but so it's really funny to kind of hear different opinions and try to figure out where I land with all this. Some people like to be a bit more conversational, and as a host, mostly, that's kind of, I guess, my crutch is if I'm feeling stressed or I need a moment to collect myself because of the turbulence we talked about, and they're just kind of going back through and forth through the neutral zone, I can tee up the analyst and say, this is something Coach Cassidy talked about in practice this week that, they're working on this. Are you seeing that or something? And then give the analyst 10 seconds to just talk while I collect myself and get back in the driver's seat.
Hey, so Jamie, talking about Doc Emmerich, who's legendary, and he's not calling. Is there any games or announcers or play-by-play that you'll kind of in today's game? I mean, they're all great, but is there anybody in particular that you kind of keep an eye on or will watch them play? Say, because we're out west here, so there are a lot of East Coast games start at 4 p.m. here.
Yeah.
Is there anyone that you kind of look at today or people you keep in touch with for tips? And because I mean, obviously, when you're around the rink, there's all kinds of people to talk to, but
Right.
when you're at home, so who do you kind of focus on or who do you admire?
Yeah, well, I would say, real quick, cool story was that Doc Emmerich actually was kind enough to give me a little feedback when I was first starting out. And that is an email that I will cherish forever. I'll probably print it out and frame it someday because I remember Anson Carter gave me his number and said, you should really reach out if you're going to try this play-by-play thing. And there's nobody better than Doc. I said, Doc Emmerich's not going to talk to me. He doesn't know who I am. And he had just retired. And so maybe he just had a bit of time on his hands or whatever. But he went through, I had put a little reel together of, 6, 7 minutes of recent games I had called. And he gave me thoughtful, pointed, constructive criticism and really encouraging feedback and said, I think you have something special here. And I think you should really keep going and try to pursue this. And that, I mean, how cool is that, right? Just the coolest thing that one of the career highlights that I've had in my career. And so, quick nod to Doc and thank you for
He is one of the
that.
greatest guy. He is one of the greatest guys, and
He's
just so
so kind.
he gives away. He doesn't hold back. He gives to everybody that he talks to.
Yeah.
Right? It's because he could say no, learn on your own, but
Yeah. Or
he's
just
very
not
generous.
respond.
Right,
Yeah.
right, yeah.
Yeah.
He's very
I'm sure he
generous.
gets emails all the time. Randomly, people will get his email, but like he did take the time, and that means the
I'm sure
world
there's
to me.
somebody. I'm sure there's somebody out there that he didn't respond to, and
Yeah.
they're like, he didn't
They're
respond to
like,
me, and we're all like, he's the best.
yeah, right. Oops. Well, keep trying. Try again. Maybe now he will.
I love it.
I think to answer your question though, Sharps, I think Kenny Albert, I think is so great and also a first class human being. Like his voice is fantastic. The fact that he
Mhm.
can do any sport is also so impressive to me. And he's also just a really kind person that has kind of encouraged me on the way. And then having a chance to now work very closely with Dave Gosher, who calls the Golden Knights, I think he's one of the best in the biz. And so when I had the chance this season to travel with the team and do rinkside reporting for them, that's what I really tried to focus on. Obviously, I'm watching the game, but like I would really pay attention to what he was saying. And, in a game where nothing is really happening, or it's, shots are like 10-6 at the end of the second period or something terrible. Like we've had a few doozies,
Yep.
but it's such a good learning opportunity for me to understand how he injects conversation or when he feels like it's time to tell a story or, try to keep the energy up if the game is really dull. And so that's been really eye-opening and helpful to me just to kind of listen to him and chat with him over our dinners before the games and look at the way he prepares and his boards. And then I guess a third person I'd throw out there is Steven Nelson, who no longer really calls hockey, but he worked with me at MLB Network / MNHL Network because it was both. A lot of people don't know that I actually worked for MLB Network, but they ran NHL Network. So I did a little bit of baseball in the summer and then certainly mostly hockey in the winter. But Steven Nelson recently, I guess 2, 3 years ago now, left to become the play-by-play voice for the Dodgers. So he does their radio broadcasts, and he also does about 40 games, I think, TV-wise as well for the Dodgers. But he loves hockey, grew up loving hockey, big Blackhawks fan, and called a few of the Blackhawks games when they were kind of figuring out, their who was going to take over for them full time a few years ago.
Mhm.
And he was the one, I still use his template for my boards, my game boards to prepare for my play-by-play stuff. So I would definitely throw him in the mix as well as somebody that, is a younger and up and comer, but so smart and so good at what he does.
It's funny you bring up, and I want to segue a little bit from the play-by-play because those guys are all great. Dave Gosher, and I asked him for some feedback one time, and he signed a boarding
Nice.
pass for me. That's Gosh, eh? Hey, Sharps, here you go. He signed his autograph, but so I keep it. I keep the boarding pass with me all the time whenever I do a show.
Oh, that's
Hey,
cute.
Gosh, I still got it, but so talking about that and talking about preparation it's mind numbing for people that like when you sit beside you guys calling, the amount of notes that you have is crazy, which
Yeah.
and like you said earlier, you're able to pull something out about a player that might be kind of an obscure player to a lot of people, but you can give them some information. I think one of the all-time greats was Vin Scully would
Oh,
tell
yeah.
you about everything about where the guy was from, what he liked to eat for breakfast. I mean, it was insane. So I want to ask though, as a little segue, Ashley Weiss, who's the rinkside reporter for the VGK, had her first child this year, her baby, little boy, and you stepped in, and I have to ask, I kind of, I guess, putting the cart in front of the horse here, but doing the bench interview with, okay, so you do it at home, but how was it the first time you had to go up and ask Coach Cassidy, ask Butchie what was going on? And as anybody who's followed the Golden Knights this year know, they usually like to get behind by one or two before they crank it up. So there could have been a few times. Like, what was your thought process, and what were you trying to? Your questions, did you have them canned for a day or two before, or did you take off what the game gave you? How'd you approach that?
Well, I definitely try to not have questions canned a day or two before, because I always encourage reporters, whatever the sport is, go with what is current, go with what's relevant, what's happening in the moment. Those are the best questions, and those are going to get the most honest answers. And that's what we're striving for, especially in those interviews. And I will say, Bruce Cassidy is probably my favorite coach I've ever worked with, if not favorite, top five. And that's across all sports. I mean, he is a true gem in terms of the way that he handles the media. He, gives you so much. He's never been a jerk, which a lot of guys are. I'll say I've had a couple jerks that I've walked away from that like, well, you didn't really need to bite my head off, but okay. Bruce Cassidy has never done that with anyone that I've seen. But he's also really honest, and usually that comes at the expense of some of the players. And so that's what makes it challenging when you're right, when they go down by a few goals. There was a 6-game homestand back in November, and they didn't have a lead once when I did that interview, because I do the interview at the under 10 TV timeout in the second period. And so sure enough, I'm thinking like, okay, they're doing well, they're doing well. And then like right before the TV timeout, the other team scores and he's all fired up. So I guess to answer your question, what it was like, it was nerve-wracking for sure. And more than anything, I just feel like I'm in the way, like they don't really want to do that interview because they're in the middle of a game and at the time losing that game. And so, the players are grumpy, the coaching staff's grumpy, and here I am like trying to like wiggle my way down the bench to ask an annoying
Excuse me, pardon
question.
me, excuse me,
Exactly.
pardon me, excuse me,
Yeah.
pardon me.
Yes. And so I had to tap him on the shoulder twice, and he turned around. I think he thought it was another coach or something. He turned around like fury in his eyes, and then he saw it was me, and he's like, oh, and softened. And again, he's so kind and great, and I'm a huge Bruce Cassidy fan. But it was definitely nerve-wracking, and I think I would say that the first time was definitely the worst. And after that, I realized, I could even ask a dumb question. I really tried not to ask dumb questions, but I could, and he would still, give me a decent answer because that's just who he is, and I appreciate him for that.
It's an interesting idea that they came up with, that they're going to interrupt people in the middle
Right.
of their job. And
Yeah.
I'm surprised that it's gone as far as it has. I'm surprised people are like, I think it'd be different if hey, I want to tell people what's going on. Let me come over and talk to you. Like
Yeah. I think the what's at the heart of it is this whole thing that, these media companies pay money to have access to the coach and the players and to put on
right.
a good broadcast. And I will say it's good television, especially Bruce Cassidy. Like, he's very honest. So he'll usually, tell you something that then will lead to conversation up in the booth with Dave and Shane or whoever the
You know
broadcasters
what it
are.
reminds me? You know what it
What?
reminds me of? Have you ever
What?
seen the movie Airplane when Leslie Nielsen keeps breaking into the cockpit and asks, "Hey, everybody's counting on you." That's what it reminds. That's what it reminds me
Yeah,
of.
exactly, exactly. So
We're,
it's
we're all
yeah.
depending on you. Keep going.
Right, exactly. It's but I think that's where it started, and I like them because I think it's entertainment, and at the end of the day, what is sports if not a version of entertainment? So
That's
like,
right.
let's be
We
real here. Yeah.
we fight that the sports page should be with the entertainment page. Like it should be all together,
Yeah.
right? I have a question we're going to switch leagues now. We're going to go over to the ladies league.
All right.
How we've seen crazy growth, right, in that game from something that failed and now
Yeah.
has come back twice as hard. You're with that company. What do you think changed and how did the new version s- so far succeed where the last version failed?
Well, I think it was really a perfect storm of events that came together all at the right time, because I think the biggest thing was the reason different iterations of professional hockey for women in the past had failed was because There was never one cohesive league. It was always separate between Canada and the US. And as much as we like to say that hockey is growing here in the US and, especially the girls' game, interest is there and it still doesn't compare to Canada. Hockey is
Hmm.
Canada's game. We all know that. And so if you have two separate leagues, you're not really having a best on best because like even me, I grew up loving watching the Olympics, right? I would
Hmm.
love watching hockey, figure skating, whatever, but especially women's hockey. Like I remember that first gold medal game back in 1998. I was 10 and I remember watching the women winning gold and how awesome that was. And so, but then I wouldn't watch hockey besides that. So it was this weird thing where it was like, not just me, but so many people in America were all in on women's hockey every 4 years. And then it kind of fizzled out. So the fact that now we have a true best on best league where you can watch all of the international stars play in one place and the best players in the world are coming to play in the PWHL. I think that's a big thing to have one league. It also helps to have one owner. I think eventually we'll see something where, they start selling off teams and it's a little more like the NHL, but right now to have one owner, just kind of one train of thought. This is how we're going to do things. They signed an 8-year CBA, which they didn't have a CBA in any of the leagues prior. There was no player rights, basically. And so that's why you saw a lot of boycotts. Some of the best players in the world would boycott these other leagues because they were like, this is crap. This isn't fair. This isn't right. We're not going to play for a league where we don't have rights as a player. And then
Hmm.
the third thing is just funding, right? I mean, we needed big name person and Billie Jean King. So Kendall Coyne Schofield, for anyone who doesn't know the origins of the league, Kendall Coyne Schofield participated in the fastest skater competition several years ago, 6, 7 years ago, in San Jose. And with the men, the NHL skills competition ended up putting up, I think, the 5th best time. So she wasn't even last. She didn't win, but she wasn't last. And it really made waves. Like, oh my gosh, these women are really talented athletes. So she kind of made a name for herself that way, won a gold medal a couple years later, and it kept building. Then Billie Jean King somehow connected with her because Billie Jean King is this, larger than life personality and also did something to kind of prove gender equality, whatever. And so she and Kendall got to be very close. So Kendall goes to Billie Jean King in 2023 and says, help us. We are falling apart. We don't have a league. We need to figure this out. And Billie Jean King is on the board of the LA Dodgers. Mark Walters is the one that has all the money. She convinces the Dodgers board basically and the Walter family to come together and form this league. And it all happened in 6 months. So that's pretty insane. Then they started their game New Year's Day, January 2024. And now here we are in season 3 and we're setting new attendance records seems like every other week. So it's really been a success story. I know I'm getting long-winded here, but that's kind of the whole gist of it. And
No, I don't think it's long-winded. I think it's a great
Yep.
story, and I think it needs to be told more.
Mhm.
What sometimes I feel the men's game doesn't get is if people, females, different color, different backgrounds, different religion, if you see somebody that you associate with in the game,
mhm,
it grows the game. And
yeah,
sometimes it becomes a white man game, right? So like
right.
straight white man game.
Yeah.
So I think it's fantastic. I think it just shows how great hockey is the
Yeah.
more it's showcased, and
And I
it's been
think,
great.
right. And I think that, the other part of this perfect storm is the Caitlin Clark effect. I do give her credit for all of women's sports kind of being lifted because she was such a once in a lifetime, is such a once in a lifetime player that, people were watching college women's basketball that had never watched college women's basketball before. And now people are watching the WNBA in a way that they hadn't before. But I think the interest in women's sports and the idea that why is it why don't people watch women's sports? Well, they do, it turns out, and now more and more people are. And so it's not so much of like I don't know. I think it used to be a bit of a joke, if I'm being honest. And
Hmm.
maybe I can say it because I'm a woman, whatever. But I'd be like, yeah, I don't really watch women's sports. That was true, and now I can definitely say I watch women's sports. I watch women's soccer as someone that's not really even a soccer fan, because
Right.
sports are sports, and it's not. I'm never going to argue that it's the same. The PWHL is not the same as the NHL. The WNBA is not
But
the same as the NBA, but they're great in their own rights.
well,
But
the thing is, it doesn't have to be the same.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
It's a different game.
That's where the fault of the mindset is.
Yes.
It's a different game. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay,
Anyways,
so Jamie,
shut up, Jeff. We're talking.
yeah, I just wanted to interrupt for a second before, but you talking about the women's game and so the Olympics, the ticketing is the most ticketing and the highest, I guess, volume of interest is in the hockey. So the question is we know the Four Nations, what that did for the men's game, right? And heated rivalry, I guess, is we probably we better tip our hat to that too. But
Again.
yeah, exactly. Don't worry, we'll be together next week. We'll be able to talk about the effect of it. But where does the women's game, now that it's got a lot of energy and some momentum behind it, now we have the Olympics. Everybody in the world watches. How do we keep growing the women's game? And like, what you're around the PWHL all the time. How does that translate? So we have because we have a lot of young girls coming in and playing, but how do we, like Ian says, how do we keep connecting the dots so we get more people that are interested in the game of hockey? And just specifically talking on the women's side, because I think the Four Nations did a real big pop for the men's game, but what does the women's game look like, and what do they have to do coming out of the Olympics, or what does the Olympics, how does that affect it all, do you think?
I think it has a huge effect. I think it's a mutually beneficial effect because, I think the hockey that we're about to see on the women's side in the Olympics, I think it's going to be the best Olympics tournament we've ever seen because of the PWHL, because these players aren't just coming from their own camps for the last couple months, which was what happened before. Sure, they'd play this rivalry series, which is like 7 games spread over 3 months. And it's fun, but it kind of lost juice over the years. And now there's a sustainable league that is in year 3, and the competition is higher than it's ever been. We're getting a lot more players from Czechia. There's a lot of players coming over from Switzerland, from Germany. I think we have a Latvian player in the PWHL. So it really has attracted stars from all across the world, which means the competition is truly the best kind of competition, right? And so if you're then going, like, we're at the exact halfway point of the season in the PWHL right now. So it's a 30-game season for now. We played 15 games, then we're taking this break for the Olympics, 15 games to go. So the fact that these players have been in training camp and having steady games, steady, high level competition every single week since November, the Olympics are going to be lit, as the kids say. It's going to be really fun, right? And then to carry that into the season, the best thing about that is, you come off this Olympics high, like someone that's a big Olympics fan, right? Like you watch it for 2 weeks straight or whatever, and then you're like, now what? Then they just all go back to their lives, and how do we follow these athletes? Well, the best thing is you can follow the men in the NHL, you can follow the women now in the PWHL. And so I do think there's just going to be this natural growth that we see in the PWHL in terms of viewership and attendance and, whatever, because people just they're going to fall in love with these women because of the stories that they hear over the course of the next 2 weeks and the competition they see take shape on the ice. And then they're going to be able to find that on the regular. So it's really exciting. And I hope that all comes to fruition. And then that, of course, will lead to more young girls who, like, I watched them win gold in 1998. Like, there's going to be a little girl out there, several little girls that watch whoever, hopefully USA. Sorry, I know you guys are Canadian, but I'm all American here.
Thanks for coming on the podcast. Take care.
But whoever wins gold, there's just going to be so many little girls out there who say, I want to do that one day. And now there's yes, that's always been the case, but now there's a more realistic path toward doing that. It was not that realistic to just be an Olympian once every 4 years. I mean, the players who did that, they'll tell you, the only reason they were able to do that is because they came from money and people that would support them, training while also having kind of a job, but you can't really have a full-time normal job if you're training to be an Olympian. And so it's a really tricky situation. Now it's like you could actually be a professional athlete as a woman in hockey. And that was not a reality until 3 years ago.
Yeah. And I think, we're around it in the minor hockey level. Ian talks about, connecting and getting more people involved, but you talk about on the women's side or the girls' side, and even on the boys' side, the infrastructure. We could do so much more with our infrastructure to help get kids into the pipeline,
Yeah.
and and kind of, I mean, it's an expensive sport. And there's a lot of gear involved, which is unfortunate, but that's the next key, is like, how do we get people interested? How can we build the infrastructure so it's
Yeah.
attainable if they want to try and pursue it? And
Yeah.
I think that's the $64,000 question, but hopefully,
There is a lot of gear involved. Did I
yeah.
tell you I played hockey for the first time ever a few years ago? And I
Way to
had
go, Picks.
no idea what to do. I didn't, guys, this is so embarrassing as someone who makes a career in hockey. I didn't know
I love
what
that you whispered it.
Yeah, we're gonna cut. We'll mute that
looking
part.
over
The
my
whisper.
shoulder. Uh,
Guys, they're on to me.
guys, I didn't know. I didn't know what hockey socks were. I thought they were just socks. And so I'm going to play in this charity game. This is such a funny story if you have time for it. I'm going to
Absolutely.
play in this charity game for the Minnesota Wild. They asked me, they started an alumni association. And being Minnesotan, they've been very good to me over the years. They bring me back every year to do special events for them. So I go and they ask me to play, and I'm no. I don't play hockey. I'll do interviews, I'll host the event. What? No, we think it'd be great if you play. It's just for fun. There's going to be non-hockey players. There's going to be some other women. Like, it's not just going to be you. So I'm like, okay. So, I get some skates. Thanks. Shout out to Bauer. They were kind enough to donate me some really sweet skates. So I break in the hockey skates. I'm practicing on the ice, but like ice, I'm living in New Jersey at the time. There wasn't a lot of open ice, and the rinks that were there, a lot of them were just for skating. So you couldn't bring sticks. So I really didn't get to practice much in terms of like actually holding a stick and knowing what to do with it once I stepped onto the ice. Fast forward to the event. We get there. The non-hockey players, Joe Mauer. Have you heard of him? One of the
Yes.
most athletic people I've ever met. Hall of Famer for baseball, but certainly can hold his own on the hockey rink as well. This other guy, and I'm so embarrassed, I can't remember his name. He was a former NBA player, 7 feet tall.
Give him some skates.
Great on the ice, honestly. Like,
Really?
yeah, believe it or not Bambi at all, just totally. So I'm looking around and like, one of these things is not like the other, and it's me. And the other women that they assured me there would be other women too. Natalie Darwitz, Hall of Famer, Hillary Knight, 5-time Olympian, and Hannah Brandt, 2-time Olympian. So those were the other girls and me. And I'm like, what is happening? So I mean, God bless all of the people that were there, because I was lost. I was told to show up with skates and a stick and they would take care of the rest. But I had no idea what goes where, the order in which you put the gear on.
That's hilarious.
So they're like pulling me in. We have this little closet for the girls because there's only 4 of us. And so we're, shoved in a closet to change. And we're just grabbing stuff like shoulder pads. Here we go. What's it called? The garter or the belt or the breezers?
Garter belt. Yeah.
There you go. All of that.
Yeah.
So we're getting that, and I have my socks on and all this stuff. And then I remember Hillary Knight's like, okay, now I'm like, dress me like a 5-year-old. Pretend that I'm a 5-year-old going to play and tell me exactly what goes where in what order. So she's like, okay, now put your hockey socks on. I'm like, I have them on. She's like, no, your hockey socks. I'm like, what are we speaking the same language? What are you talking about? And they just died laughing. They're like, these are socks. I'm like, how are these socks? What are you talking about? So anyway, that's my story. I didn't fall and I didn't get hurt, and those were my goals, and I crushed my goals.
And now you know what a hockky sock is.
I know what a hockey sock is.
Have you brought it up? You should bring it up at some point. You got to bring it up on one of your your broadcasts. And you can tell by their socks they're playing hard.
Exactly.
How fun was that though? That must have, even though you were terrified figuring out what where, you must have had so much fun.
I had so much fun, and it was all for a good cause. It was to raise money for this alumni association, which the money that they raise also goes right back into the Wild Foundation for the community and to try to grow the game.
Are you still part of that? Are you still part of that?
So what's unfortunate is it was supposed to be the first annual, and the guy who ran it ended up getting fired from the Wild. So that did not happen in year 2. And I think there is an effort to bring it back, but it was only 2 years ago. So it wasn't even that long ago. But then the band OAR, if you've heard of OAR,
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
big hockey guys, and they were brought in to play. Like they play in their own right too. They like are in a beer league or whatever, but they're really good. And so all of them played, and then at the end of the night after the game, they had a concert, which
Nice.
they sold tickets to. We got to go, and we got to go on stage with OAR, which was super cool. So the whole event was so fun. And my kids were really young at the time. They were, I think, 3 and 1. But they got to go. My parents came in for it. And so they all got to come and watch mom play hockey. Play hockey is a very loose term, but
I love it.
it was
Did-
super fun. So hopefully we can bring it back in some form
Are
eventually.
the kids going to play hockey? Are your kids going to play hockey? What do you think?
You know, I never really saw my son as the athlete type, if I'm being honest.
Oh my God.
He's
Are you a father? That's more of a father's response than a
like-
mother's. My God.
he's like the
Not my petite
typical,
flower.
he's like the typical, like sweet, sensitive, firstborn rule follower, like not the typical boy energy. But now, having said that, like he played Little League this past fall and absolutely loved it and got really good by the end of the season. So I don't know. We'll see. I think
And was
skating,
stealing bases.
yeah, skating
Mhm.
is tough for him because he's so cautious. Like we went on the outdoor ice here in Vegas. They have a beautiful little rink. Jeff, if you haven't been up here, you got to come to downtown Summerlin. Because it's really cool. And obviously it's like 60 degrees and you're skating outside and it's fantastic. So we took them there, and it was my daughter's first time without, like something to hold on to. And within 10 minutes, she's 4. And within 10 minutes, she was like, I do it. Mommy, no, go away. I'm going to do it. And she did. She did great. So I actually am going to sign her up in March to do the like VGK
Learn to play.
learn
Well,
to
you're-
skate first, and then
Jamie
learn to
will be seeing
play.
you. Yeah,
I
we'll be.
know.
You never know who
Somebody's-
the coaches may be that are out there. Be careful.
Yeah.
Somebody
So
in this podcast might be teaching her.
I would
Yeah.
love that. I would love that.
Yeah.
Seriously. But she's like, I shouldn't say my son isn't an athletic type. I don't think he has that like intense drive, but
He's not
I
a
feel
killer.
like, yeah, exactly. To put it bluntly, my daughter, 100%. She is the firecracker in this family, and
I love that.
look out.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I seen in your notes, you went to USC,
I did.
and was that your number one choice of schools when you were looking for schools?
Yeah, it was. I ended up being between NYU and Northwestern and USC, and
Three
really,
great choices.
yeah, I mean all over the map literally, but I was really into musical theater actually growing up as a kid, and so my dream was always to be on Broadway and go to NYU for their musical theater program. And so I ended up auditioning, and I got in, and that was my dream come true. But it's funny how things can change, and I always tell young kids this too, like your dreams can change and it's okay. And I in high school got really into sports and wanted to be a sports broadcaster. That's where that dream really started. And so I remember the day I did my NYU audition, went well. I felt good about it, but I got a call from my dad. My mom was with me in New York. I got a call from home from my dad, and he said, I got a packet in the mail from USC. And I don't know if they still do this in college, but it used to be where if you get an envelope, it was usually a rejection letter. If you get
Mhm.
a packet, it's your like acceptance and welcome packet and all of that. And I was more excited. I remember in that moment, I was more excited that I got that packet from USC than I was about nailing my audition. And it was just like kind of this moment of like, I did what I thought I always wanted to do, but I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to do theater. I want to do journalism. And so I went that route with the intention to do theater at USC as well, but then ended up dropping that and just staying really involved in the broadcast journalism program. So, I still think like it's still a bit of a performance in a way, right? Sharp, sweet,
Absolutely.
you
Oh,
put
it's
on your
drama.
makeup.
It's drama. Jamie, okay, so here you are in high school. Who did you see? Who caught your eye, or what about the sports side of things on TV and that caught your eye? Is there a specific individual, or what were you watching and over time that kind of got you thinking, hey, this is something I want to do?
Michelle Tafoya is the person I always point to. I was in 5th grade when Randy Moss had his rookie season with the Vikings, and they went 15-1 that year. Should have won the freaking Super Bowl, but we can't ever kick field goals in high intense, high pressure situations. So that's a story for another day. But my fandom was lit then. And I've never stopped being a huge sports fan since then. And at the time she was doing, I think it was Monday Night Football at the time on ABC. And I remember thinking like, she is a woman and she's with all these other men, but like she knows her stuff and she asks really good questions and she holds her own. And I could tell that, all the players and coaches and, Al Michaels and everyone, like they really respected her and she was just like part of the team. And so as I continued to be just more and more into sports and a football fan and sports fan in general, I was like, well, I guess women can work in sports as this kind of reporter person. And again, I think it's funny how now I think it's changed where hopefully girls who are watching sports today don't just think if I want to be in sports, I have to be a sideline reporter. But when I was growing up, that was the only role that, women were really allowed to have. There were no play-by-play women. There were no analysts who were women. And that just was what it was. So she was the person that I guess inspired that dream. And then when I was in high school, I thought I'd try it. So I had a friend of mine who wanted to be in filmmaking and ended up going on to do that in LA. But he, had a little video camera. Like we didn't have smartphones back then or anything. So he had this whole little video camcorder or whatever and a microphone. And we would go to our high school football practice during the week. And I'd do little interviews with coaches and players or whatever. And
That's
then
great.
I'd put together like a little report that would air on our morning news station at our high school. And he still has those tapes and I'm sure will see the light of day one day, but I've seen them like 5 years ago. He showed me and it's hilarious. It's awful. The Minnesota accent is strong.
That's
Oh
really funny.
yeah, but that's where that started. And I ended up submitting that little tape to the Minnesota State High School League um, for the high school football tournament, the high school hockey tournament, and the high school basketball tournament. I was like a student on the sidelines, which was cool. And so that's kind of where it all began.
It's kind of what I said earlier. It's seeing yourself in something and then
Yeah.
having the opportunity to be able to do something. But I was going to ask the second question before Jeff just kicked me out of the way and said, I'm done. I want to ask something else. How many can your USC connections?
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by USC connections because I think really you pay for USC money because you're going to can be connected. How often do you use your USC connections?
I haven't in a while, but definitely early on for sure.
Yeah,
There is
absolutely.
definitely a thing as such a thing as the Trojan Network. And I was lucky enough to know what I wanted to do. And I always tell this to people who are, especially today with college being so expensive. It's like, do you have to really go to a journalism school or not? And I said, I think if that's really what you want to do, like do that and go that route. And it is worth the money. It's easy for me to say because I was fortunate to get a scholarship. So we would not have been able to afford USC at the time. So that was really
Nice.
helpful.
That's what I'm
Um,
saying. Yes.
yes. But I would say that, don't like if you're not sure what you want to do, like I don't know, maybe not. Like do your own thing, take your generals at the community college, knock those out and figure it out along the way. And then once you figure out what you actually want to do, then you can spend the money and like go whatever route you think is best. But to
Hmm.
go to the network side of things, I mean, yeah, that there is validity to that. So when I was first looking for jobs out of college, I would try to connect with, they had this map, I remember on the website, the alumni website, where you could just click on a state and see the Trojan connection. And it was specifically for the journalism program. But so then I'd find Joe Smith or something in Colorado and be like, okay, I'm going to find his email online and then reach out to him and, start with, I'm a recent USC grad. And that did work a few
Love
times,
it.
at least to just get me in the door in terms of having an interview or maybe just getting connected with someone else then. So it is a real thing, but I would also say that, you have to still do the work. You have to make those connections yourself. It's not just something that
Yeah.
falls into your lap.
but having that opportunity and
It
knowing
is
what to do
great.
with it is pretty fantastic.
Mhm.
I've always been in awe of the USC.
Yeah, well,
The
yeah, this is
Trojan
your
connection.
backyard. I
Yeah,
know.
yeah, it's pretty amazing. And in such a bad neighborhood. That's what's
It's
great
such a
about
bad neighborhood.
it's
I know,
such
although
a
it's
bad,
much better now than it was 20 years ago when I was there. So,
but still a bad neighborhood.
yeah, but I would also say, that's also it's pretty cool that the university and specifically like the journalism program, I can say from experience, like they really preach that when you're in school. And so I think, once you graduate, it's kind of this whole pay it forward thing. And I'm really eager to help any USC graduate. I
That's
try to
awesome.
help, anyone who connects with me through whatever path of life, if they're interested in this and they want to learn more, like I'm happy to share my story and try to point them in the right direction. But yes, the USC thing, if someone leads with that, I'm like, okay, I guess I have to respond to this email.
I love it. What do you're with Vegas right now, working with them. What do you see? What do you see coming up for you? What do you like? What would be if you were saying, I want to see the next 5 years from myself, what would
Oh,
you
for
like to see?
me.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's a big question. So,
I
um,
feel like I just interviewed you for a job. I
Yeah,
apologize.
yeah,
no,
exactly.
this is
He's trying
great.
to get into USC somehow, so be careful.
This is great. We'll get you an honorary degree.
I
No,
love it.
I I don't know if people are listening and know, my path, my story. I was at NHL Network for 9 years and I was very happy there. Really great people, great place to work. Honestly felt like my dream job. I got to do some baseball in the summer and obviously hockey and go to all the major events, Winter Classic, All-Star Game, Stanley Cup Final. Like those were dream come true type experiences. But I had to live in New York for that to be a reality because I was in studio 5 days a week almost all year. And our family is all from the West Coast. So I'm from Minnesota, but my parents are actually in Phoenix now full time. My husband, I met at USC, and he's from Southern California. His whole family, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, parents, everybody's in Southern California. And so we just started feeling this tug back to the West Coast. We wanted to be closer to family. We have the two little kids, and the older they got, the harder it was to be 3 hours time difference and a cross country flight away for holidays and any other events that popped up along the way. So the last few years that I was there kind of became a trying to strategize my exit plan, right? Like, how am I going to
Mhm.
continue to work in this business, but find a way to do more closer to family? And we're not, no hard feelings. We're not big LA people. Like even him, like he's from Santa Barbara, but we're not huge, I know.
Uh, I live in Long Beach.
Okay, exactly. Yeah. So you're not in LA, but we
I'm
we
not.
were like,
I'm on outskirts. I'm an outskirts
yeah.
beach person.
So
Yeah.
so we were like, hey, let's not go to LA, but let's be closer to LA. So we started
Yeah.
looking at different places. And I had been to Summerlin, the part of Vegas that we live in, several times for work because the Golden Knights were always in the playoffs and having big events and everything. And I remember coming out to their practice facility and being like, gosh, this is beautiful. This is totally not what I would think of as Vegas. Like I never thought I would raise kids in Las Vegas, trust me. But there was something about this particular part, this Summerlin area, that we just really loved. And so we came out to visit just to make sure that we wanted to, pin our life's hopes and dreams on this move. And we did. We loved it enough to kind of just take this leap of faith and be closer to family and really prioritize. For me, I wanted to prioritize being around for my kids more. I worked a really crazy schedule for a really long time. I worked till 2 a.m. and I worked nights and weekends and holidays, and I missed a lot of things that I don't want to anymore, So they're 6 and 4 now, and I'm still trying to find that balance of saying yes to things I want to do career wise, but also prioritizing time with my kids. So all of that to say that I think in 5 years, they're going to be a little older. They're going to need me a little less, or certainly want me around a little less, sadly.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that I can kind of toe this line between keeping a career going and being mom right now. And then eventually, if they're kind of off doing more of their own thing, then maybe I go back a little heavier into, more full-time opportunities, or whatever that may be. But I would say
That's
for
great.
now, I'm happy kind of doing both. And if I can keep working for the hometown team, the Golden Knights, in some capacity, while also pursuing this play-by-play pipe dream, then I'm good.
I think that's fantastic. I think that's great.
Well,
And if you've
thanks.
gotten to know Jeff, what do you think of what do you think of I think
Sharks.
I think I'm sure his question is going to be, what's your favorite airline?
Actually, there was more about aviation from you two today. That was like, I gotta talk to Jamie's dad. I love that.
I know.
It's like,
He would
yeah,
have hated Jeff when he was younger.
Oh
Long
my
hair,
gosh.
fighting everybody.
Okay, I
oh
know.
yeah.
I know. I don't know. We weren't a hockey family. I gotta get to the bottom of it. That's my homework assignment. Next time I see you, Sharps, I'll have an answer for you as to why my dad just really didn't like hockey.
Uh,
How ironic that I mean,
So
you're
funny.
all over it now. So
Have you
it's
Yeah.
seen
good.
it? Have you seen his hockey cards from earlier when he was
No,
earlier?
I haven't. And I need to.
We'll send you some pictures of
It's
his
a
Great.
hockey cards.
collector's item. Yeah.
Yeah,
Perfect.
yeah,
An investment in your future. That's what we like to call them. So,
yeah.
yeah,
If you're ready to spend a
Perfect.
dollar 14,
Whew, a bit steep.
that's right. That's right. That's right. I'll hold my witty banter for you, Lord Bagg. But
oh,
yeah, thanks for. No, I was
you're
just
not
gonna say
gonna.
it's $1.14 more than your card.
Oh,
Hey,
Oh, hey,
ouch.
come
oh,
on.
oh.
We'll
Let's
edit
let.
that.
Yeah, we'll edit that. There's no need. I'll just take my tears and walk away.
I didn't want to drop that, but I was like, I'll just throw it in there.
I
Uh,
just, I would have played as well, but there just wasn't enough teams in the league.
Of course. No, it's all about opportunity. Yeah.
I didn't have
yeah,
the Trojan network to get me onto the team.
yeah.
There you go. Get the USC ice hockey team going and you're set.
Yeah, exactly. I
Yeah.
love it. Well, we really appreciate you dropping by and talking to us. And Jeff speaks very highly of you. I've
Aw.
always been a fan, and that's. I'm glad you found a place on the West Coast, and the family's doing great,
Yeah.
and that's awesome.
Well,
And
thanks.
I love the fact that you're growing the ladies game. I really do. I can't wait to see where it goes in the next couple of years because I was in Halifax not too long ago and they were playing there and it
Mm.
was it was sold out,
Yes.
right? It
Yes.
was it was it was cranked and
Yep.
I love it. People wearing the merch and stuff like that. It makes
I
me happy.
know. Yeah, it's a
So
growing league, and if you haven't watched it, if you're listening and you're looking to watch it, it's really easy. You can watch it on YouTube in the US. You can watch it on, I think every game's on TSN or CBC in Canada. So it's available.
Hey, Jamie, when's your next, so people can tune in? When's the next play-by-play with Jamie Hersch on the call? When's the next
That
one?
would be so Olympic breaks happening now, and then after the Olympics, I'm actually on the Golden Knights' first road trip. So I'll be on their road trip for the first it's like an 8-day trip or something. I
mm,
think my first play-by-play gig then is March 15th, and it's going to be at a neutral
mm.
site game in Denver where the Avalanche play. So that'll be really exciting, and hopefully they'll get a sellout too, because I know Denver has been a site that the PWHL has been to 3 times. This will be the fourth. And we'll see if they get a team because they're talking expansion as soon as next year.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I know they brought up Vegas, but
Hmm.
what does that look like? And like as far as facilities for them here, right? Because
Hmm.
and you go into T-Mobile, you've got lots going on there. So I'm interested to see if Denver, or you think Vegas. It's going to be exciting to see where the women's league kind of goes to. And thanks for coming on today, Jamie. It was funny. We talked to each other a fair amount because we work together, but I haven't seen you in person since last season.
I
I don't
know.
think so. That's kind of the odd thing about how it all works. But enjoy the Olympic break. Thanks for coming on, and we'll look forward to seeing you on. Maybe you can bring some luck to the road trip, right?
Right. They
They
need it.
yeah, they need it. So
Yeah.
good. Anything,
Thanks,
Lord Beck?
guys.
Thank you.
We'll have them out to a show in Vegas. We'll have them out to a show in Vegas. Thank you.
Okay. See you, Jamie.
Bye. Thanks, guys.
Can't believe you chirped me about not having a hockey card. What a douche.
That's okay. We edited
I
that
know I
part.
don't have a hockey card because I'm like her son. I have I have a lot of compassion. I'm a rule
A-
follower.
You are a rule follower. You're opposite day rule follower. Great to have Jamie on, and
Very
so much
nice.
energy. She's awesome, and I think we touched on the top of the show, but I mean, she's doing 4 different jobs. Will do 4 different jobs this year, or has done 4 different jobs. Where like she's hosted the NHL Network. She's been an
Yeah, well,
analyst. She's a rinkside reporter, which I would love to go down there and just be on the bench and just the whole atmosphere down there. Like that's a whole nother world down there that nobody
Different
really
vibe.
no one gets to experience, right? Like even if you're sitting behind the glass, you can probably hear some stuff, but
It is
like,
funny that they shove a reporter into somebody's workplace during work. Can you imagine, like, just all of a sudden you're in the middle of putting a roof on the on a house, and somebody's just beside you. What do you think of the last truss that you guys put up there? Because that's what's going on.
well, it is, but if you back it up, it's like they're in the dress room in between periods before the games.
Doctor, I see you've
Sometimes
pulled out the hip. What do you think you're going to do next?
exactly. That's what I mean. People in their content, right? Content, that's the big word, I think.
Yeah.
It is they want more access. And so
Access.
that's what they want. And so like you'll get in between periods of the guys taping their stick or what, they'll just pound the dressing room before the game. You'll get the coach coming in to say something like read the lineup or hey guys, let's go, let's have a good game, let's get off to a good start. So
The
the
whole reading of the lineup thing is, it's to me, I'm like, oh boy, that must have been prickly on the culture, bringing us like just an outsider into the dressing room before the
Mhm,
game.
mhm.
Whoo,
Well, here's one
whoo.
for you though. You help connect, like Keenan Thompson was at the Ducks Golden Knights game the other night, and sat with Timu Solani in Anaheim, and Coach Q standing right beside him, and Keenan Thompson's reading out the starting lineup for the Ducks, and ESPN is covering that and showing it because this guy's a huge star. He's got a Ducks jerseys on. He's part of the NHL package, and
Hmm.
obviously a fan. And so you know what? That's how you got to be able. I think I
Builds
understand
the
what you're
game.
saying about someone coming up on stage while you were doing the show and interviewing you. Okay, so how'd it go? How's it
Yeah,
going? Hey, so what do you think of the
midway
show
through.
so far?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, and you can just say we got to get pucks behind their D and sticks in lanes. But the funny thing about it is that this is what they want, and so this is what the audience is demanding is the NHL. We don't have the luxury of the NFL going, hey, we're the NFL and you will you shall watch because everybody watches. You have to fight for your space. And I think I love the coaches interviews. Sometimes it's very vanilla, but you'll get someone like Cassidy on there or John Cooper's funny. Paul Maurice is really good. Rick Bonus is really good, and they'll give you something different. And
I
it's
think
an
that, but
that
I think
anyways.
I think you look at where they are though. They're seasoned coaches that aren't worried. That's the difference. I think usually when you find guys, I don't know. You know who's been really relaxed as a first year coach? Marco Sturm.
Yeah, but I think Marco, I think he
Just
has a
this that's
huge
his it's just his personality though,
he,
right?
but he's also got a huge belief. And I think if you watch him as a player, he was I wouldn't call him a role player. He was a very effective player, but I think Marco's got a real belief in what he's doing and who he is.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? He's comfortable because he was in Boston. He understands what's going on there and
He
what they
knows the
want.
culture. Yeah.
He does. And you know what? He's helped create a great culture there. Um, because other than last year, Boston has been on a heater forever,
Yeah.
right? Last year, Boston everyone fell out of the back of the wagon. Marco's done a
They
great
lost a
job of putting
wheel.
them
They
on back.
lost a wheel. Had to
Yeah,
sit on the side of the
well,
highway for a while.
Highway 16. Wait,
Yeah.
hopefully someone came by and got him.
Marco came up with a tow truck and said, "Let me get you guys into Prince George."
We got to go to Costco in Prince George.
Had to go to
Um,
Costco, Prince George.
so, anyways, I get where you're going, and I just maybe about next show we'll just have John come up and interview you halfway through. So, what do you
Yeah.
think?
How do you think I
How's
can
it
do it?
going? Yeah.
I'm busy, John. I'm busy.
Yeah, that's kind of you get that a lot. You can kind of tell they're kind of put out by it, but you do get some great answers from them and stuff that people connect with. So,
All right,
anyways,
let's wrap this up. We got to get going.
yep.
Okay.
Shout
Got
outs.
shout outs?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna my shout outs. I got to hang out for 3 days with Trent Franson. Just a beautiful human being. I just think the world of him. I just had so much fun with him. Yeah, he just living up in that cold Edmonton and enjoying himself and still looks the same. Funny, I came out and there was this tall redheaded guy looking away from me, and I thought it was Trent. He had a big old bald spot right here.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh shit, Trent went bald. And, and then I
In his
turned.
late 50s.
Yeah, that's what I was like. I just suddenly, and I looked to the left. I was like, "Oh, there's Trent over there." I was like, That guy thought that was you. I thought you had some stress going on, Trent." So,
With that great loaf, eh? Just it's just like a okay. Yeah, it was
okay, you got a shout out.
yeah, I do. I got friends of ours that came down from the Great White North. Uh, Roy and Ann Macbeth with their son Connor is a huge fan. They're here to watch the VGK and the Canucks on Wednesday. This is going to come out on Wednesday, so you'll know the same time I do how that game goes. But great to see them. I haven't seen them in years and lifelong friends. And funny, when we packed up the U-Haul to leave Vancouver to come to Vegas, Roy's the guy that closed the U-Haul door. And I said, it took you this long to come back and see me? Because I didn't know, you guys didn't move in the meantime. So real good guy and good to see them. And that's it.
Love
So
it.
loved all.
Loved all.